Hello, good afternoon and welcome back to the Autodromo di Pergusa, just outside the town of Enna in the centre of Sicily for the final race of the 2012 Superstars Championship, and it's as close as you like. Only 6 points separate Johan Kristoffersen, the rookie KMS Audi driver, from 2011 Formula One driver with Hispania Racing, Vitantonio Liuzzi. And the Audis are most certainly one of the most unfancied cars around this fast oval-shaped track where displacement counts the most. But due to the rules saying the top 8 from race 1 go in reverse order for race 2, Kristoffersen will be starting in front of Liuzzi for the final race this year. There's the track. It's an oval broken up by some really nasty chicanes and with high curbs, a lot of which caught out a lot of the cars and drivers in race 1. Some serious damage being repaired between races in the pits. Watch out for what's going to happen in race 2. Race 1, a host of non-finishers. As I said, the punishing nature of the high curves on the chicanes causing all sorts of suspension problems. Also, the amount of fallen leaves around the track because the wind has been blowing hard. Doesn't matter that the cars go around, blow the leaves off the track, they'll just fall directly back on it again from the wind shaking all the trees around the track. That clogs up the radiator grills and air intakes, particularly for the BMWs, causing overheating problems. In race 1, all Team Dynamic BMWs failed to finish the whole race. For Lito Motors' Max Pigoli in the Jaguar, just one suffering suspension failure because of the high curbs, with Romeo Ferrari's driver Andrea Larini failing to complete the warm-up lap. He had a failed drive shaft, and that also meant a replacement rear differential. A lot of work's been done between races here. Christian Fittipaldi looked to have been pushed from behind to spin in the Armco with the Swiss team Maserati Quattroporte, but I spoke to him afterwards and he insists it was his own mistake. He wasn't touched from behind, didn't spin on oil. He thinks he might just have put a wheel on the grass with the boot down and spun the car around. Solaris Chevrolet Lumina's new second driver Simone Iacone also had a drive shaft failure, and the second Lito Motors Jaguar XFR also failed to finish the race. Audi, between races, basically have been praying for rain. But we're now under clear skies, as you can see, the low sun shining down on the track for the final race of the season. But even Gianni Morbidelli, who held up in race 1, I would say the man of the race in race 1, the gentleman racer, held up for, it's not even his teammate, Kristoffersen races for KMS Audi, but Audi share the same awning. And Gianni Morbidelli and his problems in 2 of the races this year, without which he would have been right up there with Liuzzi and Kristoffersen at the top. He held up and let Kristoffersen go past him. Brilliant stuff from Gianni Morbidelli, a real gentleman. He also said that even with rain, they'd find it hard to keep up with the larger capacity Mercedes entries. Roma and Romeo Ferraris also seem to have cars that handle the jumps well. Seem to float over the bumps, actually. But Audi, because their position in the championship, have to stay away from them. Gianni Morbidelli tried going over the berms, boy, they are almost berms, they're curbs though, in the chicanes, twice in practice and qualifying, and twice broke the front suspension on the car. So all Audis have been told, you just got to stay away from the curbs, you've got to use your four-wheel drive to drive around them, but unfortunately it's not the fastest line, and doesn't matter that they've got some decent power in the engines and they can keep up. It's the bigger displacement Mercedes who are going to rule around here. That is, if they all hold together. That thing might make a difference, because Liuzzi's Mercedes had all the punishment of the first race and no failures. Maybe something is weakened in the car. That's all that Kristoffersen could really hope for, because on the drag down to the first corner, he'll probably be able to stay, he hopes, in front of Tonio Liuzzi. And alongside him, of course, he's got the man who shares the awning with him, the Audi Sport Italia Audi of Gianni Morbidelli. So maybe a suspension failure could still surface for the car racing challenger, Tonio Liuzzi. We shall find out. Having a look at the grid at the moment. Well, first, before we have a look at the grid, here's the points. I'll show you how tight it is. Johan Kristoffersen, rookie driver, I'll remind you, born in 1988. He's on 184 points. Vitantonio Liuzzi, Formula One with the Hispania team last year, just 6 points behind on 178 and much more fancy than the Audi around this track. Tom Biaggi, a shame for an engine blow-up, overheated and blew up in race 1. He's down in 3rd place on 148 points. And Gianni Morbidelli, something happens to Tom Biaggi, could snatch 3rd in the championship. Gianni Morbidelli's on 127 points, but that would mean that he'd need to win, and I really can't see that. Francesco Cini on 91 points, Andrea Larini 88, Stefano Gabellini, who's not racing here, on 75, Tom Schoeffler on 70, Max Pigli on 60. Hasn't been a good racing season for the Folito Motors Jaguar, even though it's immensely powerful and supercharged. I'm always saying that, and supercharged. We shall see if it holds up, if they hold up for this race. Pole position due to the reverse running order of the top 8 finishes in race 1. A reminder, Raffaele Gianmaria won race 1, followed by Francesco Cini, Vin Antonio Liuzzi and Andrea Bacci. Then Johan Kristoffersson in 5th place, Gianni Morbidelli in 6th. Gigi Ferrara in 7th, Mauro Cesari in 8th place, then Thomas Schoeffler, Nico Caldarola, Pigli, Berton, Mugelli, Pollara. The rest failed actually to finish the complete race. So Mauro Cesari in the Swiss team Maserati Quattroporte finds himself on pole position right next to Gigi Ferrara in the Roma Racing Mercedes. That thing could actually belt away from the rest. Ferrara, he's champion from last year, knows these cars very well. But behind him on the grid, both the Audis, Audi Sport Italia, Gianni Morbidelli, alongside Johan Kristoffersson. Kristoffersson has got his wing mirrors full though. Somebody seems to be touring. That's a Toddy Course BMW, which I think is out already. And I think that's Marco Pollara in the BMW 550i, who was down on the 7th row of the grid. Right, row 3, Andrea Bacci, Carl Racing, alongside his teammate Vitantonio Liuzzi, who's right behind Johan Kristoffersson in front of him. Row 4, Francesco Cini in the Solaris Chevrolet Lumina, alongside Raffaele Gianmaria, a Romeo Ferraris Mercedes C63. Row 5, Tom Schoeffler, the Audi RS5 for MTM. Then a Roma Racing Mercedes AMG Coupe, the bright yellow one from Nico Caldarola. That's row 5. Row 6 is Giovanni Bouton, dynamic BMW, alongside his teammate Max Mugelli. All the BMWs have been rebuilt. Hopefully they'll all start. And Marco Pollara, who I think is out. Tom Biaggi on row 7. Christian Fittipaldi, Enzio Muccio on row 8. Row 9, Simone Iaconi and Andrea Larini starting right at the back as we come down to Zangaria to go across the stripe to start this one. Mauro Cesari out in pole position, alongside him Gigi Ferrara, and right behind him you see the 2 Audis with Gianni Morbidelli on the outside, Kristoffersson on the inside, Antonio Liuzzi. He's a little bit far back at the moment because I think that's Andrea Bacci who's just in front of him. Maybe he wants a long run at this, but the lights are still red, so he'll come across the stripe. It's up to Mauro Cesari to fire them across the line, and there he goes. But Luigi Ferraro's gone along with him as well. Now they start to spread out, but remember, it's going to be really tight for this first corner. Mauro Cesari stays in the lead, then it's Ferrara, and then I think Tonio Liuzzi's got through. Oh, that's just what the Audis didn't want. Tonio Liuzzi's got through, so has Francesco Cini, and that holding back from Tonio Liuzzi is just what he did, what the Audis didn't want. It is Tonio Liuzzi, I'm sure of it. Can't be Bacci. I'm going to have a look because both the Carl Racing cars are in the same colours. I think, actually, look at this. It might be Bacci. It is Bacci. And I don't believe it, but the Audis have managed to keep Tonio Liuzzi behind him. It's Bacci who's got out in front. Tonio Liuzzi very wide there, and I think one of the Romeo Ferraris Mercedes is going to have a go at him and pass on the inside as well. Lots of locking up and braking. There is no corner there. Nobody's been able to take the corner, but that's Bacci out in front and Gigi Ferrara in 2nd place. Well, Mauro Cesari in 3rd. Then one of the Roma Racing team behind them. It's not Roma Racing, sorry, Romeo Ferraris, and I think that's Raffaele Gianmaria behind him. So Ferrara, Cesari, Bacci. Where's Cini gone? Oh, Cini, sorry, Cini in front of Mauro Cesari. Oh no! That's Nico Caldarola, a big hit there, and that's unbelievable. Johan Kristoffersson's been taken out. Number 46, Johan Kristoffersson has been taken out of the race. He's not going to start on that. And if Tonio Liuzzi finishes this race, he will be the new champion. Nico Caldarola, you couldn't do anything worse. That's the series leader, Johan Kristoffersson, into the wall. Kristoffersson, well, he's had a downcast face all year, but this will make him mad. Nico Calderola taking him out. And I think Andrea Bacci's got a little bit of a problem as well. Bacci out in front, but there's some serious smoke coming off of one of the tyres there. Safety car's out on the track, but it won't help Bacci because that tyre's not going to last the race. Cini is there in third. There's Liuzzi. Liuzzi only has to keep going, and hopefully he doesn't have a component failure in that car. It's got to be bitter, bitter disappointment. Way wide, and couldn't control the car, could Nico Calderola. And the one person that nobody wanted to hit, Johan Kristoffersson, walks away absolutely, the word has been overused, but devastated with what's happened to his championship hopes. He's the Italian champion because the Italian championship runs alongside this, so he's got the Italian championship. He's the rookie champion, but he wanted the overall victory, and he could have got the overall victory. But Liuzzi was the one who weathered the storm here, and absolutely there was nothing that Kristoffersson could have done about that. Nico Calderola came out of nowhere onto the grass. Obviously on the grass he couldn't brake, and the only person in front of him at the time was two cars in front, and that was poor old Johan Kristoffersson. And it's going to take a little while to clear that away. You can see the lubricants and everything spread across the track. That's going to cost Nico Calderola dear at AMG Coupe. There's a real traffic jam around here. And Kristoffersson's series couldn't have ended worse. There is not another race to go. We were supposed to be going to Indonesia, to Sentul, but the FIA haven't homologated that track for racing superstars, so we haven't been able to go there. And my heart really goes out to the young Swede, 26 years old. Could have made a famous upset here, taking all three championships. The only one that he wasn't eligible for was the Star Trophy. He's not over 50. So there you're looking, if the positions stay as they are, the new 2012 champion, Vitantonio Liuzzi, from the start here. All the cars spread out wide. We knew it was going to be tight into Vivalo, the first set of corners. Somebody at the back going well wide there. Everybody getting through. Johan Kristoffersson up the inside, in front. And oh, I don't believe it. One of the BMWs and one of the Jaguars having their own fight at the back. As Giovanni Berton's gone off, I think. And who was that with him? Might have been Enzio Muccio. So obviously, the driver behind him, Gigi Ferrara, staying well back, thinking that it might have been oil and he was traipsing around there. It's quite possibly correct as well. Having a look again at Vitantonio Liuzzi. Still the safety car out there. Gigi Ferrara and Raffaele Gianmaria, first and second. Bacci out of this. That puts Liuzzi up into third place currently. Remember, we're still racing, this still counts. Then it's Mauro Cesare, Simone Iacone, Gianni Morbidelli in fourth, Andrea Larini, sorry, Morbidelli in seventh rather, Andrea Larini in eighth, Tom Biaggi in ninth, Christian Fittipaldi 10th, Muccio 11th, Max Mugelli in 12th, Tom Schoeffler down in 13th, and it was Cini who's come into the pits. Didn't say it's one of the Chevrolet Luminas way back there. And so Francesco Cini's come into the pits. In fact, the Solaris team Andrea Bacci already out of the car. The Solaris team got big plans for Superstars. I was chatting with them down there. They say they've even got a third car ready to, well, about to be ready to race. Might even come in, Chevrolet Lumina, with the Solaris team with 3 cars next season. Actually, there's been quite a few rumors circulating about what's happening with Superstars. One of the strongest, or one of the most interesting, is that a British team are looking at Superstars very, very closely and thinking quite hard about entering a team next year. As to who the British team is, or who it's run by, let alone what drivers it's going to use, nobody knows. But that's a strong rumor at the moment. And that's something else to look forward to Superstars next year. Just one of the many rumors that are circulating. Safety car still out. They'll be out for another lap. That looks like Francesco Cini's going to come out, but he's a lap down. Number 19, black and orange flag. That's Enzio Muccio. So the Ferlito Motors Jaguar, which did go off the track, he's still out there, but he's got a warning that he'll need to have a look at what he's damage to the car and maybe pull in. It's not Muccio we're looking at, that's Liuzzi again. Right behind him, Mauro Cesare. Absolute disaster, absolute disaster. And the poor Swede just sitting on the sidelines looking at what's going on and thinking what could have been. Doesn't matter that he's a rookie champion, doesn't matter that he's the Italian champion. He wanted that scalp, a famous scalp, to take Tonio Liuzzi. Liuzzi, it could have been anybody that Nico Calderola had hit, but it had to be the worst person on the track to take out the championship leader. Meanwhile, safety car, don't know if he's coming in next lap around. It depends on how much of that debris they've cleared away from the Nico Calderola's AMG Coupe and the bits of Audi RS5, which are still being dragged away here. They're down in the corner, just going off screen. Johan Kristoffersson looking on at what could have been an absolute, not just famous victory, but a stunning victory for a rookie driver in his first year in Superstars. And the camera keeps its eye on Tonio Liuzzi. I did say at the start of this that Tonio's done an entire race without any problems at all, and that included jumping the berms. And what Johan was looking for was maybe a component failure, suspension failure for Tonio Liuzzi. Doesn't matter now. Well, in fact, it could. If we go under racing conditions again, we're under 13 minutes left to race. If somebody pushes hard on Tonio Liuzzi, something could happen. They say it's never over till the fat lady sings. There's Johan Kristoffersson again, scratching his head. Well, there's nothing you could have done. It was blindsided, came from behind you. Something could happen to Tonio Liuzzi. I would imagine that the pace car could do this one more lap and come in. Tonio will be wanting to stay out of trouble. All he needs to do is circulate. He doesn't actually need to finish in front of anybody, and he will be 2012 champion. But there are people behind him who are still racing. He is in third place. There are other people who want to get past. There's a Chevrolet Lumina for a start, the second of the Luminas looming in his rear mirror. Simone Iacone very fast off the start from almost, well, the ninth row of the grid. And also, it can't be Francesco Cini because he will have to go right to the back of the grid. But it is Iacone in fifth place. Larini behind him as well. We've seen how hard Larini races. Tom Biaggi don't think will be a threat here, but Iacone and Larini could definitely be a threat to Liuzzi. Liuzzi's going to keep his powder dry. Cesare, I think, will be dismissed once this pace car comes in by Iacone and Larini. They'll want to get past him as soon as possible and go after Liuzzi. And I think that, if we have enough of the race left, that is where the battle will be here. Gigi Ferrara out in front. And look at the debris still on the track. As the pace car goes slowly through there. That's at Pineta, right at the back of the track. They call it, I think I've heard the drivers call it Schumacher. And that's one that they try to avoid at all costs and just leap across. Some of the cars can do it. The Roma Racing Mercedes and the Romeo Ferraris Mercedes, both those two in front, seem to handle it very, very well. Antonio Liuzzi has stayed away from that, and you can see that it's been a war on this track. Safety car will come in this lap. We'll be under racing conditions. 10 minutes left to race here. And it is down to Iacone and Larini to put the squeeze on Antonio Liuzzi for this championship. Ferrara and Raffaele Giammaria out in front. They'll come into Zangaria. Out of this double curve, onto the start-finish straight, onto the curve, onto the start-finish straight. As they curve around, they'll be under racing conditions. Ferrara putting the pedal to the metal. Raffaele Giammaria will want that as a scalp as well. Antonio Liuzzi behind them, trying to stay out of trouble. And guess who's trying first of all up the inside? Iacone on Mauro Cesare has got past him already. And I told you, Larini will be next along to try and do that. He'll do it almost straight away. That's what he's desperate to do, can't do it now. Antonio Liuzzi will have Iacone, the fast-starting Iacone, out in front, well behind him, and trying to get in front of him as well. Ferrara all sideways with the Roma Racing Mercedes. Raffaele Giammaria right in his tracks as well, up the inside. Oh, that turns so well. Let's have a look at the power down the straight. Has Raffaele Giammaria got it in the tank? He has indeed. Slips in front of Gigi Ferrara. Hard braking. That'll flat spot your tyres, but it rides the curve so well. Does that Romeo Ferraris Mercedes. Gigi Ferrara losing time through there. Liuzzi now will soon be under threat from Iacone. Iacone's next along, and guess what? Larini's got past. No, he's still, yes, he has. Larini's got past. He's behind Iacone, and now the squeeze comes on Antonio Liuzzi. It's 8 3/4 minutes left to go here. Tom Biaggi behind Mauro Cesare at the moment will want that scalp as well. Now, what can Liuzzi do? Will he just move aside and let the fighting with Larini and Iacone go past him? Or will they squeeze him? It's always a scalp, good scalp to have. Ferrara now in second place. Raffaele Giammaria out in front. Under investigation, it says, and I think that might be for jumping the curbs. Although the car does it very well, he had to stay on the track. There's Tom Biaggi right behind Mauro Cesare now. And Iacone closing up on Liuzzi for third place. Oh, Ferrara up the inside. Oh, brilliant move. How did he do that? And where did that move start? Giammaria getting a little bit of a slide. Had a taste of his own medicine there. As a Romeo Ferraris Mercedes locks its front. Giammaria right behind him. Liuzzi at the moment out of trouble. Not getting involved in this battle. Is it tyre smoke or is it concrete dust? We don't know yet. And Iacone starting to close on Liuzzi, but this battle at the front, oh, this is for a win. Desperate for these. Giammaria wants 2 in the bag from this. Starting on the 4th row of the grid, I'll remind you, the winner from race 1 will want to take it away from Gigi Ferrara, but Gigi, as cool as a cucumber, knows these cars very well, won a championship with them, and will want to win again and keep Raffaele Giammaria behind him. So far, he's been doing it. Liuzzi, keep your eye on Liuzzi. Iacone's right with him now, right in his wheel tracks, right in his slipstream with the lights on. And Larini's after him as well. Larini's just being dropped a little bit. Liuzzi doesn't want to be the meat in these two battles. You could be paced if you get between these two battles that are going on at the moment. Giammaria and Ferrara in first and second. Iacone and Larini in 4th and 5th. And once again, Tom Biaggi is a meat in a different kind of sandwich. Gets past, though, and keeps it on track as well. Tom Biaggi, let's hope the leaves don't mean that he's going to overheat and have another blown engine in the BMWs. They've had to have a whole shed load of engines brought over to put into these cars. Raffaele Giammaria in second place. Oh, he locked again. That's Ferrara locking the wheel. And Liuzzi still out of trouble, still with a gap between second to him and between him and fourth place. Iacone not hanging around, but I think Lorini's starting to push hard now. Iacone all on a twitch under brakes. Dust comes up, it's just over 5 minutes left of racing. Liuzzi still not under threat, he's still safe. He can still, if he stays there, win this championship. Even if he finishes the race, he'll win the championship. Doesn't need to get involved in a battle, but he could be a big, pasty bit in the middle of two slices of bread, two slices of Mercedes bread, if he's not careful. Liuzzi leaps the curbs. He's been doing that for the whole race. Oh, look at this. Iaccone's right on him now. And so is Lorini. Iacone tries up the inside. He's a little bit of a tag there. Some bit of bodywork, I think, has fallen off of Liuzzi's car as Iacone just rubs the back of him. Lorini's with him as well. Liuzzi keeps the power down, just stretched a little bit over the Chevy Lumina. Chevy Lumina seeming to do very well in the corners, does Iacone. And then Liuzzi just pulls it away. Big displacement, the 6.2 litre Mercedes pulls away from him over the curbs. There's a little bit of a rub we saw from a different side, and I think just a tiny little bit of the car racing Mercedes spat underneath the Chevrolet Lumina. All together again, Liuzzi, maybe a war of 1,000 rubs here, as they'll try to. Iacone will try to cut him against Lorini's on Iacone. Iaccone's concentrating too much, doesn't get the power down. And Lorini goes past him now. Lorini, we've seen how hard Lorini races on here, as Liuzzi's wing mirrors are filled with Lorini now. And he's known throughout the season what Lorini has been like on the track. Takes no prisoners, does Lorini. Almost as much of a bulldog as Max Bigley. And more dust as they go through the concrete. Liuzzi now under threat from Lorini. Just under 4 minutes left of racing. Lorini doesn't want this. He hasn't had to put up with too much so far, just a rub from Iacone. And meanwhile, Gianmaria is out in front, Ferrari in second place. We didn't see the what happened there. Oh, Lorini, Liuzzi sideways. And Lorini back in as well. Can Liuzzi get started? Will he select reverse gear and get out of that? Because Liuzzi does need to get started again. Lorini's just parked it in front of him. What is Liuzzi going to do? Both of them are out of it. The car racing Mercedes stuck in the gravel. You couldn't make it up. You couldn't invent this. Johan Kristoffersson taken out by Nico Calderola. And now I did say that Lorini is a bit of trouble on the track. Liuzzi's got going again, but he's got damaged bodywork. He needs to finish this race. 3 minutes and 1 second left on this, but he's been able to get it out of the gravel. He just needs to finish this race. Bits of bodywork flying off. That's a dangerous car. The whole front of the car is starting to tear apart now, but he's still going. Liuzzi is still going. The car racing Mercedes could make it to the end of this race. 2 minutes, 38 seconds left. Has he got any kind of control? There's coolant coming out of the front of that car as well. The car shouldn't be running. It will be overheating. The radiator's going to empty on that. Look at that. Underbraking goes left, right. Misses the corner. Can't turn the car. Parks it in front of Antonio Liuzzi's car racing Mercedes. Both Mercedes into the gravel. Liuzzi tried to select reverse and get away from that. The car racing team are thinking, what's going on here? Liuzzi still, last we saw, circulating around. Johan Kristoffersson's looking at this with wonder on his face. Coolant pouring out of the front of Liuzzi's Mercedes. Can that big 6.2 litre engine with less than the required amount of coolant in it keep going? If he goes slow, and look at that coolant still spraying out of the front of that. He's coming into the pits. Liuzzi into the pits. What will happen at the end of this race? Gianmaria, fastest lap of the race, 1:45.076. It doesn't really matter. Ferrara's well back behind him, over a second behind him and more. Iacone in third place. Tom Biaggi's into fourth now. Christian Fittipaldi up to fifth. Mauro Cesare into sixth. Max Mugelli seventh. It doesn't really matter what happens at the end of this race. Is Liuzzi credited with a finish? Will he be credited with a finish for this race? Liuzzi into the pits. The team seem to think that he will have this championship at the end of the day. 55 seconds left to race, but there'll be an extra lap after that. Has he completed enough race distance? The team think he has. The team say Antonio Liuzzi is a 2012 champion. He managed to get it started, brought it back to the pits, and has done the required race distance, I think, to retain his championship lead. Well, I'll put my hands up here. I need some officials to come in and tell me, will he have the championship after this? Will he retain the championship?
That's why we stopped, because
Tom Schoeffler, and I think even he's come up to congratulate Liuzzi. 9 seconds, 8 seconds left of this race, plus one more lap. We're still seeing battles go on around the track, but more car, I think, is left in bits on the track that will finish this race. Gianmaria still out in front, Ferrari in second place. Iacone 8 seconds down on the leader in third place. You're looking at the fight with Muccio. I think, who's Muccio in front of? Well, it doesn't really matter. The race is going to be finished now, unless something else happens here. This is Muccio and Larini. No, it doesn't. It's not Larini, of course it's not. It's Raffaele Gianmaria going past him and lapping him. That's what it is. Whew. Trying to keep it all together in your head, Raffaele Gianmaria. And one more lap to go. That's it. This is the final lap. So Muccio's been lapped by Raffaele Gianmaria. The Filito Motors Jaguar gets out of the way. Number 54, number 99 to the stewards after the race. Well, I'm not surprised at that. Larini has to explain his actions. But also, so does Antonio Liuzzi. Well, final lap for Raffaele Gianmaria. Ferrara wasn't able to do anything about him. Romeo Ferraris will go away from this track with a famous double win. That's if no suspension failure in the last half of the lap for Raffaele Gianmaria, as the car leaps daintily over the curbs, and the Filito Motors Jaguar makes a little bit more heavy work of it. Round the back of the track now on the final lap for Raffaele Gianmaria. I'm absolutely positive there will be various protests after this race, but even with Thomas Schoeffler in congratulating Antonio Liuzzi, I think that means it's all over for the championship. But who knows, stewards might have a different interpretation of things. Coming up to the final set of corners now at Zangaria. Raffaele Gianmaria out of the final complex onto the curve. They'll take him onto the start and finish straight. A double race win for Romeo Ferraris. Raffaele Gianmaria takes two in a row, and still they're battling. That's Iacone and I think Tom Biaggi. Iacone for third place takes that from Tom Biaggi. Tom Biaggi, a final fling at the last. Iacone goes through. I don't think they're even thinking about where the track is going. This is so off-road, it's ridiculous. Nobody was anywhere close to the track with Antonio Liuzzi. All smiles. And a totally different visage for Johan Kristoffersson as they cross the line. Tom Biaggi, a good fourth place for that. Christian Fittipaldi comes home in fifth. Max Mugelli in sixth. But let me take my breath and say it's got to be Antonio Liuzzi's championship for this one. Raffaele Gianmaria, the winner of the race. But every race, I say it, can you get more of a spectacle than Superstars? Race 1 was phenomenal and epic. Race 2, well, this is Ben-Hur writ large in V8. Johan Kristoffersson, International Superstars Series champion. Johan Kristoffersson has just come up as International Superstars Series champion. That is official. That's the flash that's just come on my screen. It looks like Antonio Liuzzi doesn't have this, and that Johan Kristoffersson is the 2012 champion. It's up and down, it's left and right. Retired, Morbidelli, Bacci, Thomas Schoeffler, Francesco Cini, Pollara, Burton, Calderola, Kristoffersson retired, but with Liuzzi having a pit in and stopping in the pits, the flash came up on the screen that Johan Kristoffersson was 2012 International Superstars champion. Italian champion, rookie champion. There it is, 185 plays 181. That's official. Johan Kristoffersson, the rookie, is the rookie champion, the Italian champion, and the international champion. If he was 50, he'd be star champion as well. Absolutely brilliant. And it goes from the lowest of the low just had word in my ear, Audi, Mercedes and BMW looks like the team's championships at the moment. Audi, let me write that down, Mercedes, BMW. And BMW so close, look at that crash. You couldn't have had a worse crash. And Johan Kristoffersson holds his head in disbelief as Nico Calderola takes him out. And then Andrea Larini cuts across the nose of Vito Antonio Liuzzi, parks it in the gravel, damages the front of Antonio Liuzzi, who sheds bodywork, manages to select reverse, carries on, the engine still running, bodywork falling off of that, coolant coming out, and Larini looks on in amazement that Liuzzi could carry on, but coolant coming out of that, it is an official retirement then. And Johan Kristoffersson, the team seemed to think that he's done enough to become champion. What would have happened if Antonio Liuzzi could have carried on for yet another lap? But I don't think he would have been allowed to with coolant coming out of there. The team seemed to think he was the champion there and then. And Johan Kristoffersson, 6, he says. As the winners come in, and poor old Gianmaria and Raffaelli stuck at the back of this as they push Gigi Ferrara out of the way. I'm sure there will be a full rundown of the ins and outs of this on all of the bulletin boards, on all of the forums, a little bit later on. Great race from Raffaele Gianmaria, don't take anything away from him. He showed his class in GT Sprint, came over to Superstars, and it's a double race victory. Brilliant for him, on a track that naturally suits the big power of the Mercedes, and also beautifully set up. And he gets congratulated by his former teammate in the black team, Ferrari, in GT Sprint, Andrea Palmer. Congratulations. Roberto Piccini there, trying to move it into a nice place for a picture, as usual. Romeo Ferrari's a wonderful double victory. And the teams work out. A little voice in my head said Audi from Mercedes from BMW, and those failures to finish in the first race, plus their dismal showing, unfortunate for them in race 2, meant that Audi had overtaken them and Mercedes in the points championship for the manufacturers and the teams. And Audi will take the championship away. They've got the full set. There's Gigi Ferrara just pointing over. A look at Gigi.